John, good morning.
Brian.
Our weekly reunion. I have to tell you that listening to our intro, it just brings out so much joy. It's one of the wonders of not only your talent, but also music in of itself. I'm excited to see you. This doesn't actually happen fast or soon enough. These are the highlight of my week, John. How are you, sir?
Very well. I'm in the process of setting up the piano so that I can do the lighting and the camera work and things of this kind. So stay tuned for bringing maybe some live music into the show as well. But, you know, life is continues on its merry, unpredictable way. Relatively few complaints, I'm happy to say right now.
And the move is going okay? You're getting all settled?
I think that the acute phase of the illness is over, and now we're into the chronic adjustment phase. But having space to think and to create and to collaborate, it just is a gift beyond all measure. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to Intersections Live. This is your weekly intellectual jam session where we bring together some of the greatest minds, some of the greatest doers, some of the greatest artists to talk about what's happening in the world, where it's going, and also to just hear from you, your ideas, your questions, so that we can continually grow, learn, and most importantly, unlearn together. I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, the one and only John Kao. He has been called Mr. Creativity by The Economist. He's a serial entrepreneur. He is a thought leader, an entrepreneur, an advisor. He's I might have to give him a new nickname, which is Mr. Innovation. And he is just an absolute joy to work with. He has taught at MIT Media Lab and Stanford. He also chairs the Institute for Large Scale Innovation. John, I can go on and on. Welcome.
Thank you, Brian. And let me take a moment to reciprocate, because I really enjoy jamming with Brian. You know, it's like we're on stage with our respective instruments and we're making this beautiful, spontaneous music together. So Brian is also multifaceted in a very comparable way. He's been intimately involved with the interrelated subjects of innovation and digital transformation and the management of disruption since the beginning of the digital era, we could say. ZDNet referred to him as one of the 21st century business world's leading thinker. He would self-describe as a digital anthropologist and futurist, and he also serves as the global innovation evangelist for Salesforce. So there you go.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. And also proud to call you a friend. I'm really, really enjoying these moments. I learn so much. Sometimes I have to pinch myself. I feel like I could be as equally hosting this show with you as also being in the audience, because the people we've been bringing on are incredible. And our first guest is gonna blow our minds, gonna blow your mind. Before we bring him on, though, I do want to remind everybody that this is a live show and you're part of the experience. So share with us where you are. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter so that we can stay in touch in between shows. John, we have to actually get on that pretty soon.
That's right. It is a raw medium after all.
Yeah, so share where you're tuning in from and feel free to ask questions of our guests or of John and myself, and we'll make sure to feature those questions and do our best to get them answered. So without further ado, I want to bring on our first guest, Greg Cross. So Greg Cross, he's the co-founder of Soul Machines. And we've actually had the opportunity to do some things behind the scenes in the past. But before we bring him on officially, let me just kind of give you an overview of Soul Machines, which is a human OS for artificial intelligence. It explores the future of human-machine cooperation. Soul Machines is at the cutting edge of AI research and its unique digital brain based on the latest neuroscience and development psychology research. It's basically leading the way forward for not only artificial general intelligence, but also how we think about sort of engaging with machines, sort of bringing to life, putting a face, quite literally, and a brain on the other side of the screen. So, Greg, welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
Good, thanks, Brian. Great to be here. Thank you for having me. Very nice to meet you too, John.
Hey, Greg.
Greg, where you coming in from?
Auckland, New Zealand this morning. So, like all of us, enjoying putting up with a very different world this year. So normally you'd find me at 35,000 feet. This year I'm permanently rooted here in New Zealand, which is actually a very safe place to be at this point in time, obviously. So
well, you have good leadership down there.
Yeah, we do, and we have a general election tomorrow as well. So,
yeah.
It's a fascinating time in the world. So,
yeah, you know what? Last time I talked to Greg, John, he was mentioning that there was a stadium event happening that was full of crowds, and something that we just don't even get to experience here in the United States. But Greg, what a pleasure. So why don't we just jump right in, and maybe you can give us an overview in your words, Soul Machines and sort of the inspiration behind the company and what you're working on.
Yeah, so I mean, thank you for having me. Thank you for the amazing introduction. So, I mean, you did a great job of describing what we do. We literally put, a face on machines. We have, my co-founder and the inventor of our technology has for many years been working on this concept of, how are we going to make machines more human-like? And as machines that are driven by data, driven by AI systems, how are we going to make them more relatable? How are we going to make them more trustable? So the work we started in a research lab at the University of Auckland, and that was led by my co-founder, Dr. Mark Sager. We spun out of the University of Auckland just over 4 years ago and created Soul Machines. And we've really spent the last 4 years, starting to explore how, digital people become a part of our world, how we can think about the concepts of democratizing the delivery or the creation of personal experiences for brands and the delivery of specialized knowledge. And that sort of, for us, that's really, really important because, yes, we can change the way in which big brands interact with us as consumers, but imagine what we can do in areas, like healthcare and education, where, not everybody today has access to great, health services and great education services. So these are some of the fundamental things that we're excited about and we're thinking about on a continuous basis.
Wow.
So
I mean,
exciting.
Yeah, the number of avenues we can go in this conversation. So, Greg, how do you see sort of the evolution of man and machine here as we go, right? Because naturally, if we think back to older science fiction, machine was not really our friend, and if we think about the future of work, anytime we bring up conversations around AI or just basically any conversation around automation, we start to think the worst. Oh, it's going to take jobs. It's going to displace workers. But what's the bright side of all of this? What's the positive side of this new world?
Yeah, I mean, I always think it's really, really ironic that as human beings, we look at our future and we create via science fiction these very dystopian views of how the machines that we create take over the world from us. When in reality, if you look back at the types of machines that we've created, they've enabled us to build a better world. They've enabled us to do, and achieve so many different things and live our lives in so many different ways. So, I mean, so a lot depends on the way we think about the way we want to be entertained, and that's what Hollywood does. And then the rest of it depends on how we want to put how we want to create, because as a company, we're both a technology company, but we're an enormously creative company. We think about the world in a way in which and the way we frame our vision of the future is it is about human and machine collaborations. We think about these intelligent machines as joining our team in a way that makes the world a better place, the way in which we can improve our societies and our communities, and that doesn't mean that there's not scary things to think about. Every time we've seen this sort of some sort of industrial revolution, there is a shift in terms of what jobs are available and things that we can do. But, by and large, these shifts have been positive. And my crystal ball's ultimately no better than anybody else's. But, one of the things I like to remind people of, one of the most displaced groups of workers in the last industrial revolution was children. And child slave labor in our factories disappeared as a result of, the last industrial revolution. So, was that a good thing? Yes, it resulted in the formation of the modern education system. So as we automate things, as we have this ability to communicate and interact and reach people in different ways, we see enormous opportunities to improve the way we do things, as we go. So, and that's really, really important. But I'm also not saying there's not some big issues that need to be dealt with there. The ethical issues, the regulatory issues of the AI world are mind-boggling, and they're going to be incredibly challenging for governments and regulatory bodies all over the world. So, it's not, but this is, ultimately we rely, on, the fact that the vast majority of us are good people, and we want to do things in really good ways. We want to improve the way in which our world lives.
I love it. I love it. And John, before I turn it over to you, I just have one more question of you, Greg. But before I throw that question to you, I just want to also send a shout out to Leslie Evers, who is our graphic recorder, and also she is a fashion icon in her own right. So make sure that you look up leslieevers.com.
She makes us look good.
Yeah, she does. So Greg, we've had an opportunity to do some work that has yet to be announced yet together, but you have customers like P&G, Autodesk, Mercedes, the Royal Bank of Scotland. What does some of your work look like in today's world?
Yeah, so in today's world, we're doing a lot of work with very big brands, very big organizations in a range of different sectors. And one of the common themes with the corporates, the big brands that we're working with, is they're really, really focused on how they are going to reinvent their customer experience for the future. Many of the leaders in these organizations, they're not just thinking about the next 12 months, but they're thinking about the next 10 years. And how are they going to create value for their customers through the delivery of products and services in different ways. And if we look at what's happened this year, we've seen a dramatic acceleration, a dramatic shift to all things digital. Our habits are changing. We're buying more stuff online. And if we buy more stuff online, how do we create the personal brand experience that we would typically have when we go into a retail store, for example? So, these are some of the really, really interesting ways in which, even with the things that have happened this year, we're making some huge differences. The other area that, one of the projects that I just want to mention very quickly, which I'm incredibly proud of, is we reached out to the World Health Organization in March and basically asked the question, how can we help? And as a result of some discussions, we moved very, very quickly with them to launch their first digital healthcare worker, Digital Florence. So Florence is a healthcare worker for the World Health Organization. She has been designed to help people ask questions about myths and fake news as it relates to COVID-19. And there's plenty of that, as we well know. And she's also becoming an integral part of their smoking cessation program. So smoking is one of the biggest health issues in the world. And it's obviously an issue that, is compounded by COVID-19 as a respiratory-based virus. So, incredibly proud of the work that we've done in a very, very short space of time with the World Health Organization. Florence today speaks English. Over the next few months, she'll end up speaking 6 different languages, or every language of the United Nations. So, you got two contrasting things happening here in terms of our world at the moment. There's the acceleration of all things digital and the way in which we do business digitally now. And then on the other hand, There's, how can we reach, millions more people around the world through, a face-to-face interaction, a personal interaction.
John, over to you.
I have a couple of questions that I've been dying to ask you, Greg. I have a clinical background buried somewhere in my resume. I did a residency in psychiatry. I spent a lot of time doing behavioral sciences, and I'm fascinated by the human, let's say, digital persona interaction and the dynamics. And there were therapy programs going back to Eliza, and there's some research that shows, for example, that people are more likely to confide in an artificial persona than they are in an actual human therapist in the psychotherapy world. So what have you noticed in terms of the different ways that we relate to the kind of personas that you are developing as opposed to another person? Are there some emerging patterns, and where does it really count in terms of creating social value or business value?
Sure. So, lots of things. So, start with the sort of, the sort of data that we're getting from the work we've done with, a whole range of customers and a whole range of industries is showing up some really, really important things. So, one, the convenience of having a digital person you can talk to, because you don't have to wait in a queue. Mm-hmm. They're available 24/7. The information they have, might be limited by the information that they've been provided with, but the information is always up to date. So, in a world like today where health and safety regulations literally can change in different, countries and communities on a day-to-day basis, you only need to update that information in one place, and it's available to everybody. It's infinitely scalable. We can have, 1,000 digital Florences talking to people about COVID-19, or 100,000. This is cloud-based technology, so it's infinitely scalable. We've discovered that it actually has a big impact on online shopping, for example. So work we've done with Procter and Gamble. We created a digital ambassador for SK2, the luxury skincare brand, and with Yumi, as you go shopping for SK2 products, you can have an interactive conversation with Yumi inside of their online store. They've seen their conversion rates and their sales increase quite dramatically by creating that personal brand experience, online. Where you started your question, we found that people actually prefer to talk to digital people, in areas that involve some sort of judgment. So that could be some areas of healthcare, mental health care, for example. We've had banks that have deployed debt collection, debt collection use cases, financial literacy. Us humans don't like talking to other human beings about how we manage our money. So, so a really, really good example is that we're doing some really interesting projects in language tutors at the moment. So here in New Zealand, we have an indigenous language, Te Reo, or the Maori language. And we're doing some work with a digital language tutor. I studied French and German at high school. I don't speak either language as an adult. Most of us don't. Learn to speak fluently another language at high school, and generally that's because the vast majority of the kids in the class stop putting their hand up and asking questions. So the cool thing about a digital language tutor is they don't care if you ask the same question 10 times. They don't care if you repeat the same lesson 5 times. They are just there to interact with you when you want them to. So these are some of the things that we're learning about, the way in which people enjoy. And we're designing digital people. So we build all types of digital people, men, women, different ethnicities, different age groups. So, we're creating a very, very diverse workforce. It's kind of interesting. Many of our customers take a very analog approach to their first digital worker. We want a digital brand representative, a bit like, employing a celebrity for your TV commercial, where in the world of digital, you should be able to choose, who do I want to speak to? Who am I going to feel most comfortable speaking to? Who do I relate to? So it comes back to this whole approach to personalization again, John.
So much to unpack here, Brian.
I know. I'm just. Oh, hey, it's Scoble. It's fantastic. It's fantastic to
Rob
see you
Scoble.
here.
Hi, Rob.
Wow, Greg. We are out of time, but we could. I think we could talk for hours. So we'd love to have you back on the show if you're open to it, because there's many more questions, and John and I would like to have some virtual co-hosts as well. So that way,
that's great. We can take a break from time to time.
Hey, Greg, before you leave, just maybe tell us what, in a quick overview, what's next for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, as a company, we're growing really quickly at the moment. We've got some amazing, extensions to the technology. So, we've used, Mark and his research team have used the lockdown period to do some amazing work in the way in which we are bringing, advanced functionality of our digital people to life. So, we're not too far away from them being able to have, hands and their bodies animated, and to be able to interact with content, to be able to exist in 3D worlds as they become a bigger and bigger part of our lives as well. So there's a lot of very, very cool technology. I mean, I think most people understand this incredible world of AI that we're just really starting off in now. It's going to get really, really, really exciting and really, really interesting over the next 2 to 3 years. So, look, I'd love to come back and talk some more anytime soon.
Greg,
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Wow, John, I mean,
we didn't even get into, the virtualization of actual people and celebrities and public figures. And, Greg is in a position to gather very unique data that, is strategic for the whole evolution of this area. I mean, there's so much to talk about there.
Oh, I know. I got to tell you, though, I really, really appreciated your question. One of the things that it made me think about is there's a robot study being done right now, not quite virtual, but robotic engagement.
Same idea. Yeah.
With powered by AI, essentially to teach men empathy and help them essentially improve their emotional intelligence. And I thought, wow, what a fascinating study. In fact, I got to use this as a reminder to follow up on how that's going. Well, John, let's bring on our next guest, actually, because he's just an incredible individual. He's somebody I've been friends with for many, many years. Jefferson, I'm going to give you a formal introduction, and then we'll bring you on the show. Jefferson is actually he's a true artist. He's also a friend, but he's a true artist. I follow. Well, let's get into his official stuff, which he's a veteran multimedia journalist. He covers tech for USA Today, but I also follow him. He's an incredible photographer. He leads these amazing photo walks. He has if you still have your travel photography series on YouTube, you've written 9 books. He's also an incredible musician, John. So this is why Jefferson is perfect for Intersections. Jefferson, welcome to the show.
Well, hey, thanks. And thanks for being here. I guess I forgot my blue background, huh?
You know what, John, we got to make sure
we're going back to the neutral backgrounds.
We got to make sure that everybody gets the memo ahead of time. Hey, so Jefferson, one of the things that of the many things I appreciate about you is your morning walks and seeing Manhattan Beach and in all of its glory every single morning. Voila, the pier. Aside from all of the amazing things that you capture through the lens, what is capturing your mind, your curiosity in terms of all of the incredible things that are happening in the tech world today?
Well, as far as the morning goes, I'm looking for a shot that I haven't taken before. That's getting really tough because I used to go to the gym every morning, and now I don't. The gyms are closed, though I've noticed there's a lot of them outside now. I'd like to try one of those out. So I'm on a 2-hour walk every morning looking for new shots, and people seem to really respond to seeing the beach. Actually, before we did this, I was working on a video where I strung together all my iPhone clips. I got 20 minutes worth, sort of your video wallpaper. But as far as the tech world, boy, I can't wait to try out that new iPhone 12 Pro with the super duper low light on the extreme wide angle camera lens. Very excited about that. Excited about trying out Dolby Vision video clips, which have the potential to be pretty amazing, but also have the potential to be really frustrating because you'll be able to shoot in Dolby Vision, never been done, but it's also a new file format that you won't be able to share at all.
And on that note, though, what is Dolby Vision?
It's hard to describe, but it's a mastering process that makes your images more contrasty and sharper and clearer, and it's used on 4K TVs, and they're always talking about it. And I've never seen a before and after, but I will. I'll see that in the new iPhone when I get it next week. And people should know they have an opt-in process. They could either shoot in Dolby Vision or not, and if they do shoot in Dolby Vision, they won't be able to share the files. So that's something to really take under consideration.
Wow. And so aside from that, though, we're seeing an incredible acceleration, but also maturation of consumer technology that goes anywhere. We're seeing not only iPhones, but I think it's Scoble who's watching this got his Oculus yesterday. So we're starting to really see the growing-ish popularity of VR. We're also seeing smart homes and more incredible connected technology happening. So what are some of the things that have you most excited for consumer tech in terms of what's out, but also what's coming?
Well, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I went to visit a 3D printed home that you can buy for $100,000 that could be made in 2 weeks. How's that sound?
Sounds amazing.
Right? $100,000 for it's a backyard unit. Or what do they call them? There's a name for these. But it's not a main home. It's a backyard home. It's a granny home. It's like a motel room basically, except that it has a laundry room and a kitchen and a bathroom, and you can build it for $100,000. And some really smart entrepreneur went out and built himself a mega printer that can print the materials that they need to build this house. Now, every person I mention that to is like, "You got to be kidding me, really?" So I think that's pretty amazing. I wish I had the room for it in my backyard, because I would put one in, but I don't. Do you guys?
I want to make room for one of these things. I would love it. My goodness, that's incredible. I could only imagine then, besides backyards, then what that allows for in terms of providing homes to people who might not have otherwise had that opportunity, and where this can go technologically. John, I want to make sure you also get your airtime as well. So why don't you jump in with your next question, and we'll go from there.
Sure, thanks. Well, I'm excited to pose these questions to you, Jefferson. I mean, the first one is, Kevin Kelly, in his most recent book, referred to all of us as now being in the position of endless newbies because things are evolving very rapidly. You got your iPhone 11, now you got your iPhone 12, and the upgrades occur almost without your having to make any decisions. So, what advice would you give us in terms of how we should maintain our awareness of what's going on? What's the best source of information? How do we become skillful newbies in this world that's ever changing? You're in a position where people are pushing stuff at you. You just referred to you're getting your iPhone next week, which already makes me kind of envious. But for most of us, we're stuck with trying to self-curate a whole bunch of information, some of it contradictory, some of it better quality than others. So how do we leverage our endless newbie status?
Well, you watch the presentations, but watch it with a critical eye. Watch it and wonder what they didn't tell you, because they do a really good job of making you want it. And then when you walk away from it, you say, well, why do I really want it? Why do I need this? Because most of us don't need it. I mean, if you feel like spending $1,000 next week, great. It's all for you, but your life will be fine without it. So just think about the things that they didn't tell you. Like, for instance, that Dolby Vision is a new file format that you can't share, because they didn't bother telling you that, right? They always lead, or that the new iPhone is so fast, it's lightning fast, it uses 5G, and you go, well, this is great, I got to get it. And then I tell you, well, 5G is actually not any faster than 4G right now.
Right.
And that if you have 5G with Verizon, it may work on that side of the street, but not on that side of the street. There's a lot of big questions there that they need to think about. And overall, you don't need this stuff. If you have the money and you want to spend for it, great. A friend of mine called me the other night. He says, okay, that's it. I'm selling my camera. I got to get the new iPhone 12. But I said, why? He said, well, because it's so much better. I said, is it? Do you know this? I wouldn't give up my camera for the iPhone 12. I think the iPhone, I love the camera on the iPhone. I think it's amazing. But I like what I get on my camera even better. The iPhone 12 will never give you a close-up of your son making the touchdown from the rafters. It just won't do it, but a camera will.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, aside from reading your columns, then how can we stay informed? Because so much of it is advertorial stuff, which is about getting us to buy. But how do we develop our own inner compass for figuring out what we actually need? And also, more importantly, what's going on? How are AR and VR going to affect our lives? What should we really be targeting if we are going to be stuck with some version of hybrid learning at home? And what should we get to be productive, in our new workspaces and things of this kind? Where do we get that kind of information other than just blundering around and experimenting and ordering stuff and finding out that we need it or don't need it or whatever?
Well, the first thing is that when you go to a website and it says we use affiliate links, and then they review something, some bells should go off. Okay. So find the ones that don't have the affiliate links in the article. And I think you might get a little bit more credibility there. When you read the reviews on Amazon, ask questions to yourself. Why did they just get 55 one-star reviews? Something's going on there. Somebody's playing a game. Same thing with Yelp. So there's a lot of questions you have to ask yourself when you read these things. As far just find the publication that speaks to you. Find the website. Find the platform that speaks to you, that you agree with, that you like, that's not just taking the company information and just regurgitating it to you.
Mm-hmm. The other question I had is, we're in this historic moment where a lot of people are gearing up for production of one kind or another at home. They've got their cameras, they've got their lighting kits. It's not just that they're going to participate in Zoom, but they're actually going to start making content. And I wonder, or they're homeschooling, they have some hybrid education thing. I'm wondering who's tracking the volume of sales of B2C products that in some way or another would allow us to document how much of that shift is really happening. How many ring lights are getting sold? How many green screen backgrounds? How many, black magic cameras, blah, 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 so that we can start thinking about, is there really a big shift of production into individual people's lives in a way that they're, finding useful? Is there somebody who's tracking all that stuff or writing about it?
I don't know who tracks the sales. I know that you every time you try to buy one of these products and they're sold out, you should have a pretty good idea of how well they're doing. Webcam's still hard to get. I was actually trying to buy the Drobo, which is a networked hard drive, and they said we can't make them because we can't get to our factory in China. But as far as everybody watching, they all should have set up their little mini studio. I'm not using a ring light. I'm using a little light that goes on my laptop. I was trying to give you a before and after, but can't do that really well right now. But you can see it's just sitting on my laptop. It's actually, I think, better than a ring light, and it sells for $50. It is from LumeCube.
I'm a big fan of LumeCube.
Yeah. So that's been really good. I have a microphone plugged in. That's really good. I'm sure you guys have. Are you guys using Blackmagic cameras?
I am. Not at the moment, but I'm gearing up.
Yes, we both are.
And I did invest in a better microphone. Right.
Okay.
Actually.
You've got your Rode. I've got my Rode over here. Let's see. It doesn't.
Okay.
Let's see. How about there? You go.
Yeah.
That's part of it anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, we all need to find the space and move the laptop up and be eye level and all those things. And if in a perfect world, I really shouldn't have this picture here because the pier is bothering me. Because I should be here, right? This is where I should be here. But it keeps getting in the way. So maybe one day I'll take that picture down.
Or put up a green screen.
Yeah, yes. Or blue screen.
A blue screen. There you go.
That's one of the
like us.
John, I really appreciate where you're going with that question, because Jefferson, one of the things that we're all learning how to become sort of video producers in our own right. I just bought the new Elgato ring light, and so I'm testing it out right now. And I got it mostly because I want to mount the Blackmagic camera on the thread through the light and see if I can't get a better position with that rather than having a tripod. But I was thinking the other day that companies like Blackmagic, Elgato, they're sort of becoming the Apple of this new genre, this working from home, this presentation from home, these video meetings from home. So how are you sort of seeing the evolution of a lot of these companies coming out of nowhere and suddenly being in the spotlight?
Well, I think Elgato has a long way to go until they get to Apple. A lot of us have been using the Camlink 4K to connect our DSLRs to the computer for our live streams. Primarily it's been used in gaming, but a lot of and they were sold out for months. You couldn't get it. Do you guys use that the Camlink?
No, I'm using the A10 Mini Pro.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So yeah, there's a company called D10 that I had never heard about before that is basically partnered with Zoom to sell dedicated Zoom devices. They have a dedicated Zoom display that's 27-inch, and it's not a computer. It's just a dedicated display, and every time you're ready for your Zoom meeting, boom, there it is. And then they're coming out with one for the TV for $400 that's supposed to be out in December. Never heard of them, and I attended Zoomtopia yesterday, and there are all these new products, these Zoom add-on products that I think are going to be really popular.
Wow. I mean, and can't even keep up. Although, John, I think maybe we should do is have in between our weekly jam sessions here on Intersections is have like a weekly support group to help each other figure out how to use all this stuff. It's incredible. But yeah, like Jefferson, to your point, I mean, I started with books, then I started with a stand. Now I have a standing desk to kind of get that eye level just right. It's amazing how many things that we don't think about, because we weren't necessarily trained or properly groomed to be video producers. But now it's the whole new dynamic. And so with the iPhone 12, with Oculus, with Elgato and Blackmagic now becoming sort of everyday or emerging everyday brands, where do we go from here? I mean, we're going to be in shelter in place for a little while. I think this COVID-19 might be around for longer than it's welcome. That's for sure. So where do you see consumer technology going?
It's all about products for the home, right? I mean, it's like I better go out and buy that stand-up desk like you did. I'd certainly be a lot more comfortable. And you're totally set up, right? With your stand-up desk, you're working there all day, and then when you turn on the camera, it's all good. I have to move things around. I'm actually on top of some books right now, and I'm not high enough. I should be higher. This is one thing that I found, though. When I was using the phone as my webcam, and I was looking up, and it was perfect, but then I don't see you guys. And the inclination is when you're looking up here, you still want to look down here. And I haven't figured that out. I need a monitor to go on top of the computer. What do you think? That will mirror the phone or mirror the live video that we're doing. What's the solution for that? You guys have an answer?
That's what I'll tell you, and this is just honest because I don't have the answer, but I'm experimenting. I did pick up the XDR monitor for this very reason, so I can get high resolution in a smaller form factor, and then that ring light. We'll see. This will be next week's show, but the ring light I got so that it sits just above the top of the monitor with the camera in the light, so that I can see you, and the camera's still going to kind of hopefully look like I'm looking into it. But that's the idea, because right now I'm just straight into the laptop webcam.
Yeah, we want to go a little higher. I can't wait to see how it works for you, because that's my next purchase.
It just reminds me of kind of conversations that people at the dawn of the movie industry in the early 20th century, like around 1911, were having. It's like, how do we light this actress's face, and where do we put the camera, and how do we get two people into the shot at the same time? And we're dealing with a new medium here, and it's going to be raw and experimental for quite some time, which makes it also fun because it's at the scale where each of us can get enough equipment so we can do some serious damage at home.
Experimental and expensive.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to be doing Zoom meetings all day long for the next 12 months, right?
Yeah, at least.
Right. And the one thing that we'll put in closing on that is the other thing that's not technology related but technology induced is sort of the emerging studies that are happening around the fatigue as a result of being on video, and how it actually draws a new sense of energy that we're not used to giving in order to sort of be alive and be animated. There's some really interesting studies that are getting the science behind that fatigue. Jefferson, do you heard anything about this?
What's that?
Around the fatigue, like Zoom fatigue or video fatigue?
I am really glad that I'm not a student. I can't imagine how rough that is.
Terrible.
To have to spend the entire day in front of the, in front of that computer and keeping yourself busy and the camera's on you and be rough. I just talked. Our local aquarium in Manhattan Beach has been closed since March, and they are reaching more people now than they were with the doors open, because the schools are begging them to give live tours. They have a little Zoom class that they do for people, and they're reaching tens of thousands of people every day because the schools are desperate for a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine. My daughter, she's 8, and she is in front of that computer from 8 to 2 every single day, and we'll see how this plays out. But I feel for them, and we try to get outdoors afterwards too to kind of give her some balance. But yeah, hey, so Jefferson, before we bid adieu, do you happen to have a guitar handy? Because I'm a big fan of Jefferson's playing. I requested a song from him in the past, so, which was The Way You Look Tonight. So Jefferson, because the show is an intellectual jam, but also just a cultural jam, can you play us something?
Yes, I'm going to play I'm Beginning to See the Light from the Duke Ellington Songbook. Okay?
Thank you, Jefferson.
Thank you very much.
We'll have to jam. We'll have to jam. I do keyboards, so
I hear Yamaha Piano Man.
We'll have to bring you back, and we'll have a live jam session here on Intersections. Jefferson, thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you for your art. Thank you for being here today. Very much appreciated.
Okay, thanks for having me, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Oh, wow, man. Hey, John, I cannot wait for the day where we actually can do this for real. You with your piano, having guests over, jamming, just sharing with everybody. It looks like everybody here is loving the music. Thank you very much. And if you're watching, it's Gregarious has let us know that there are some challenges with LinkedIn, so we apologize for that. Not our fault. But we will make sure to answer your questions. Share with us anything that you want to know, anything that you want us to answer for you. Also, share with us where you're tuning in from. Make sure also to subscribe to our newsletter, Gregarious, if you could share that. Thank you very much. And now, without any further ado, I do want to bring on our next guest. He's I had the chance to engage with him a few times here on the last couple of months, and he's a powerhouse. I met Dave Lazar through a good friend of ours who his name is Jim Louderback, somebody that I've known for a couple decades. I'm afraid to say how long exactly, but Jim heads up the super uber popular global VidCon conferences that I've had the privilege of speaking at. I've also been a fan of just going to this and watching this new genre of influence before COVID and after COVID rise. Hey, so Dave, before I bring you on officially, let me just kind of give you that formal introduction, which, Dave is a visionary entrepreneur. He's the CEO, also co-founder of Stage 10. I got to tell you, following the last conversation, I don't know who better than to talk about the state of this new world in terms of video engagement, live streaming, also influence and engagement over, through this screen and where it's all going. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brian. It's really good to be here and good to meet you, John.
Great to meet you.
It is very exciting times, and we find ourselves kind of in the eye of a storm of this paradigm shift, not just in the way content is produced and experienced, but also in this. What gets me really excited is this dawn of this new generation of content formats that truly involve the audience in a real-time experience and make them an active participant in the shows. And that's something that I've been waiting for a long time. And it was pretty cool that demand accelerated by about 18 months over the last 6. So we're finding ourselves in this magical moment, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, you were already a big deal, and now in this world where we were thrust into essentially this digital virtual world, you've done some really amazing things. In fact, I've shared the Cardi B video quite a bit. But maybe for everybody who's not a geek like me, share with us what Stage 10 is all about, and sort of what makes it different, and also where we are in this whole world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, a lot of the biggest streams you've seen over the last 6 months have been powered by Stage 10. You mentioned Cardi B, the John Krasinski's Some Good News Prom. He switched that all on Stage 10. We also did the Mr. Beast Creator Games with 32 creators coming from all over the world and participating in a real-time remote rock, paper, scissors tournament, and so many more. It's really exciting to see the adoption of our technology and the demand for the next generation of it. So where are things at right now? Where we've really been playing is we've created this virtual TV control room, which can be directed remotely, and where all the participants can join the show remotely, and that really is a big piece of what's driving the next generation of content, and what's kind of driving content when everybody's socially distant. So we really kind of had a production platform that was ready for this period. So that's cool, and seeing the adoption of that and some of the new techniques that have been built around that in terms of, how do you produce a show when everybody's coming in remotely. This was something that needed to be learned on the fly, fast, and if you're bringing in guests and you can't send a crew in there, how do you make sure that their feeds are going to connect? You guys are even dealing with that, I'm sure, now with your podcast. So a lot of that we really worked hard on over the last 6 months to make sure that we were able to serve the highest quality biggest brands and celebrities in a way that respects their brand, but still lets them participate from home. But it goes so much farther than that, and I think that's really the core of where Stage 10 is, and where we're going to be going over the next few months. And I've always believed that the web is it's a two-way medium, and as such should be used differently when you're making content, and it offers so many possibilities for new formats that, as I said, gets the audience in as an active participant in the show, and also new revenue streams. Because one of the things we've learned from doing having over 165,000 creators, brands, and media companies making shows on Stage 10 is that you need to be interactive with your audience during the show to give them a reason to tune in at a specific time in the age of VOD. And then how do you take that to the next step? Like so often, we see the web used as a distribution medium, and thought of that way, like, hey, this is a way I can market my traditional content. This is a way I can reach more people. I can promote my product. But the web is so much more than that. It's an interactive medium, and to be truly interactive, you need to be live with your audience. So once you have that ability to bring the audience into the show, to have them engage with the content in real time as a participant in a new style game show, for example, or in a call-in show, or playing along with a game show from their home, suddenly this new experience pops up, and suddenly all the wonderful creative talent around the world can start to make that next generation of shows that we've been waiting for so long for. And we know, when we were building Stage 10, we always had this in mind, but we knew we needed to build a control room first. Obviously, that's been adopted widely when everybody had to rethink how they do productions during these crazy times. But more than that, what we've done is kind of bring the two pieces of missing infrastructure to the game that make this new kind of interactive content possible, and make it possible to monetize it through direct audience transactions. And the two pieces of missing infrastructure were the ability for the creator or the publisher or the director to actually command and control interactive experiences within the context of their live show. So often you see, hey, everybody go vote on Twitter, or send me a note in the chat room and we'll respond to it. But it's never an asset that a producer can actually bring in the context of the show. So just like you would in a traditional broadcast, when you drag in like a graphic overlay or a video clip as part of the live show, now we're enabling producers and creators to bring in a vote, a trivia question, a custom game show feature, and also the ability to directly transact with your audience. So we've seen the success of live transactions, particularly on Twitch. What a wonderful thing to see how when people would tip the Twitch streamer and the Twitch streamer would call out the tipper, way more people would tip, and they'd get that feeling that they're a part of the broadcast. So, we see tipping as a big part of it. What we're really excited about is our ability to do live video e-commerce. And the same way that you can drag in those video clips or graphics, now you can drag in a buy now opportunity, take it live to the audience at the exact right time. The other piece of missing infrastructure that we've been working to solve, and we're really excited about this as well, is our Stage 10 Rosie video player. And our video play, we knew that to make these interactive shows possible, we needed to both put the control in the hands of the creator to bring the interactive experiences live in the context of the show. But there's the other side of it. How are people going to experience this content? The video players that we see out there today aren't designed to let the audience click right on screen to participate as part of the show, and to have those interactive elements that the audience see under the control of the storyteller. And then we needed to make it low enough latency. And what I mean by latency is the delay between the studio broadcast and what the audience sees, so that these broadcasts could actually be interactive. Because the other problem with the old school video players is they're based on a format which didn't really need to be real time. But when we're talking about these new style interactive shows where the audience are actively participating, when they're transacting, and the streamer, or the publisher, or the creator, or the media brand wants to thank them on screen, which is so important to making them feel part of the show, we needed to get that latency down to a point where the conversation, the broadcast is a conversation. It's in real time. They ask you a question, you can answer them right away. They're voting in real time, and the show's being affected by that. We like to say it's not live content. We're enabling content that's truly alive.
That's fantastic. And yeah, if you think about it, and John, I'll turn it over to you for questions. I'll just make this quick comment, which is, John Krasinski, with Some Good News, I think, showed us what a new art form or a new type of show could be like in this genre. I mean, it did so well. The Prom was exceptionally well produced and immersive and so much fun, and it was so engaging to watch. I mean, I guess that's why he sold the show so quickly. But it's that sort of creativity that we started to see going back to the early days of Twitch, or even before that, Justin TV, and what we were what it brings out in us in terms of creativity and opportunity. So John, over to you.
Well, I'm listening very intently. Dave, about sometime in March or April, I wrote a piece for Forbes about the implications of when live becomes virtual. I spend a lot of time with musicians and sometimes pretend to be one myself. And, what you're talking about, I think, really creates the opportunity for a virtual audience to show a performer love, in the form of applause and in the form of all of the nonverbals and the vibe stuff that, performers crave right now. I mean, it would seem to me just having some kind of feedback mechanism and an algorithm that could sum up appreciation from a remote location and sum it into the sound of applause in 3D audio at where the performers are would be a major advance in terms of eliminating some of the gaps in the virtual performance. So I'd love to send you that piece because I think some of it's still relevant.
Oh yeah, thanks. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, but I have two questions. One is a small one, which is why are you calling it stage 10? And then the second is, if we were to fast forward 24 or 36 months, what do you think the biggest evolution or innovations are in this whole live streaming experience and live performance experience that we will see? What are the gaps that still remain to be overcome? Because you guys are obviously way out on the edge and moving into the future. And 24, 36 months is actually a long time by internet calendar. What do you see as being what are we going to have in 24 or 36 months that we don't have now, and what are the gaps that we're going to fill?
Oh, I mean, that's a great question, and I truly believe that the main difference, it's going to be a whole new way to experience live content, because instead of watching the show and maybe interacting a bit with the community around it, you're going to actually be able to play the show. So it's going to become this brand new, exciting experience for the audiences to feel like an active part of a production. So I'll use, I'm an old guy, so I'll use some old examples. Like think about what would happen if in the Family Feud, the audience was doing the survey in real time. How much more fun would it be if you were a part of the show and everything, the show the arc of the show was affected by the people watching. The other thing that's a massive paradigm shift that you're going to see, probably, like I said, I think you were right, like 24 to 36 months, everything's going to be different. But we've also found is that storm has come now. We are literally in that eye of the storm. So the second big piece is how do live streams get monetized? Like right now, when a media company or a creator is broadcasting live on the web, there's almost no way for them to make money. There's a handful of creators who make money off of Twitch, and YouTube has some cool tools like Super Chat, but it's really not sustainable for your bigger media companies, for your ambitious creator entrepreneurs to really take this kind of broadcasting to the next level. So the ability to actually transact directly with the streamer. And when I say transact, yeah, it starts out with the streamer the audience sending the streamers money. Like they buy a product, maybe they sell 50 products in a show, and then the streamer does something. Or you do a new style game show where people are guessing what a product cost in a certain decade, and then if everybody gets it right, we do a price freeze and everybody buys the product. Or through direct tipping and donations to charities and pay-per-view. If you can bring those revenue streams in a viable way to the community, and I think that's possible now that we've really discovered that transactions are interactions. And if the key to live streaming is be interactive with your audience, and people sending you money counts because you thank them for it, because they feel like they're a part of the show, they're affecting it, then money is going to start rolling through live streaming. And then you're going to start seeing budgets placed against creating these new style formats. And that's where things get really exciting, because I've always known the promise of the web was exactly this. And it's so exciting that we find ourselves right there, right now.
It's so interesting what you said about revenue generation, because in between the lines, I was hearing the opportunity to gamify the revenue generation, the feedback from the audience to the content creator, the experience creator in many different ways, contests and, kind of surprise, kind of Easter egg kind of things where more money comes through because hopefully you own the credit cards. And anyway, a very ripe area for exploration.
Absolutely. Do you guys know that in China in 2020, $135 billion worth of product moved against live video? That's a full 13% of all China's e-commerce. So imagine that in the hands of storytellers. So.
Wow.
And spreading out across the rest of the world. We're on the verge of a complete revolution in both how content is created, experienced, and monetized. And it's we're excited about our position in that because we've been thinking about it for so long that we've got the platform ready to go and the big creators ready to rock with it.
Wow! And I'm just realizing too that you reminded me of a story, Dave, that. I was reading a pivot of a jewelry store chain in China that because they couldn't have visitors, they pivoted to becoming jewelry hosts and hosting live streams, modeling the jewelry, talking about its stories, and then also because of live commerce, they were actually driving revenues greater than what they were able to do in the previous world. Dave, we're gonna have to have you back, talk more about this stuff, and also have you play some keyboard here.
Yeah. I also have my my flute handy.
Cool.
Send
next time.
Send us out with some flute music.
No, come on. Oh, I'll do harmonica because.
There you go.
I think I got a harmonica here, just so I can keep with the trend of everyone playing a little.
Yes, John. I think we're gonna have to keep this trend going.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm doing. Thanks, guys.
Right on. Hey, I'll see you behind the scenes, Dave, for all the stuff that we're doing. I really appreciate you being here.
It was my pleasure. Bye.
Great to meet you, Dave.
John, we got to get your book Jammin' on here and we get some live commerce integrated.
Everything old is new again. It's an oldie but goodie.
Oh, what a fantastic episode.
Amazing.
And I've been also trying to keep up with a lot of the comments across the networks. Thank you, everybody, for participating. And one of the things that I've been seeing across all of the platforms has been just how much they enjoy sort of the personal touch of this show. And people are really loving the live music. So we'll have to actually be more intentional about that, I guess. John, what about you? What do you think of today's show?
Well, I said at the beginning when I posted that the show is coming up that people should be prepared to have their minds blown, and I guess that was a prophetic statement. Each one of these presenters kind of opened up my thinking in an interesting and new way, and that what more could you ask for?
Yeah. I guess more time.
That's right. Well, that's possible. We got nothing but time coming up.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to. We should probably have our own little offline jam session so we can figure out all this other gear so we can be on par with all these trends.
I am at your disposal, Brian.
All right, my friend. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of Intersections. Please join us next week at 10:30 a.m. Pacific on Thursdays, every Thursday. Although we'll have to figure out Thanksgiving, John. I was thinking about that the other day since it will fall on a Thursday.
Right, and New Year's Eve, I noticed as well. Although that might be an opportunity for some, liquid refreshment at a early hour.
I love it. Glass of champagne. I could use one right now. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. If Stephen Colbert can drink scotch on CBS, we could certainly do a little champagne.
Yeah. Hey. I love it. John. All right, everybody. Well, we'll see you next week. And please send your questions. Subscribe to our newsletter. We promise to get that going soon. We have a new website we didn't even get a chance to talk about, which is intersectionslive.com. Shout out to Joy for helping us get that site out there. And we will, if you have any recommendations for guests, please send them through our way. Thank you, everybody. Gregarious, can you cue us out with some live John?